It is once again time. Monday Night Raw, Labor Day 2014. And what irony. Today celebrates work because it was hard work getting through this episode of Monday Night Raw. And it was bad if you hear me burying it because usually I'm the one that likes to look at all the positives. I'm the one that tries to find, any sort of way to praise something. And even I can't find anything to say about this episode of Raw that was good. I mean, this was basically what a format to a main event or superstars should be. Advancing jobber feuds. That's all that this did tonight. This was pure 3-hour filler. And even the highlights, or should I say highlight, which was the Diva segment featuring the the three most over divas in the division and Paige. Even that was awkward and weird and, just like oddly done. And then we get word that Michael Sam is supposedly invited to Raw next week to try and attempt to compete with Monday Night Football next week. But more on that in just a little bit. Let's just dive right into it if we want to do that. I mean, it's basically like getting thrown cold water onto your head with a bucket. All right, we kicked things off on what I thought was I thought this was a decent way to open the show, but just like a lot of the other stuff that happened tonight, it kind of left you like, the hell just happened? Where is this leading to? What's this actually doing for the show? I mean, all this really implemented was it teased Randy Orton feuding with Roman Reigns again, but then it just led to Roman Reigns feuding with Seth Rollins for sure. I mean, I thought this might lead to the return of the Great Six-Pack Challenge, and yet it didn't. I mean, all this, what did this really lead to? I mean, John Cena didn't even get the pin in the main event. Roman Reigns did. So this ended up doing literally nothing. Just like everything did tonight. Literally nothing happened tonight. You could miss this episode of Monday Night Raw, tune in next week, and it could just be like you're just tuning in the week after that you just missed. But I will hand it to Chris Jericho and Triple H. Even 10 years later, they're still magic together on the mic. The one thing that I did have a gripe with here was they give all these, sometimes I wonder, do the writers give Chris Jericho these funny lines, or does Chris Jericho come up with them on his own? Because if he does, since he likes to put over young talent so much, maybe he should like spread a little bit of that love over to, guys that actually need these witty things to get themselves over with the crowd a little more. And if it is the writers, one thing that's frustrating is they always seem to give the witty good, comebacks to the guys that are either old or, headed toward retirement. Anyway, another thing that this segment, I guess you could say, kind of proved was that Randy Orton only works good when he's standing in the ring with a bunch of guys in suits and he's wearing a kind of a suit himself. Because sadly, in this opening segment, Randy Orton was the best mic worker out of all of them. And that includes the COO of the WWE, Triple H, and Brock Cena. So, at this point during this tag team match, I actually thought that this crowd was doing pretty well for themselves. They did a decent job in the opener, and they were really alive for this one, for Dolph Ziggler. But then the rest of the night, they were just about as dead as CM Punk's career is right now. Anyway, a very good job done here with the Miz's gimmick. Using Damian Sandow since they want to job him out and make him into someone that tries to impersonate people, this is actually like the perfect role for him if they want to utilize him that way. And, I said it last week on Twitter, these guys would actually make a pretty damn good tag team. It seems like their chemistry would work really well together. And, they just, I don't know, it just kind of seems like they mooch off of each other really well. Miz ends up getting the win after his stunt double does what he's supposed to do and takes the fall. And you know what? Smart booking. And I really like how they're booking this Miz gimmick. You know, they're actually going all the way with it. They're doing even more than what they did with the Hollywood Rock gimmick in 2003. Even though this is nowhere nearly as entertaining as that, you know, they're doing a really good job with it. Then it was Big Show and Mark Henry versus the Wyatt family. And then Rusev ended up coming out. This would be a recurring theme, building up Rusev versus Mark Henry. This is the show, or this is the feud that the show was centered around tonight, which will tell you just how much star power the WWE has right now. That Rusev versus Mark Henry was the most heavily featured feud tonight. Anyway, I didn't really watch this. I was a little bit busy with other stuff. I'm sure you guys know what I mean. Anyway, one thing I saw in the end, though, was when the whole chairs debacle happened, not only was it awkward, but the Big Show even looked bored during this part. And it seemed like he had to scream to try and get himself into it. And even then, he looked like bored out of his mind. It was almost like he was the face of the WWE Universe at that point. And that was kind of the thing about this episode of Raw. So since we're on tag team matches, I might as well mention the Total Divas match that, you know, as a guy who supports the Divas, even I was just like, guys, really? I mean, they literally assembled the worst team of wrestlers in the history of the WWE, and I shit you guys not. This is the worst team of wrestlers in history. You had Cameron, who was sadly the best wrestler of them all, and that speaks volumes as to how good of wrestlers that team was. Then it was Eva Marie and Rosa Mendez. I mean, I guess you could say the good thing was that this was kept a little bit short, and the reason for it was to promote Total Divas. But you could have done that with a match between Naomi and Cameron and have that be like a little bit of a blow-off to what their feud was back then, or help reignite the feud and promote Total Divas even more. But instead, you had Rosa Mendez dominate ring time out of the rest of the five and just totally make this weird. And also, for whatever reason, Layla was in the match, even though it's supposed to promote Total Divas, and Layla was the only one in there that isn't on Total Divas. One thing that was funny was how hard JBL was trying to put over Rosa Mendez. I mean, I don't think I've ever heard him put anyone over this hard. And I've heard him try and put over the Shield back when they were still new. So my hat's off to JBL. He made Rosa Mendez's performance a little bit believable. A little bit. So throughout the night, we had these segments where Nikki Bella talked about past experiences where Brie Bella was the pussy heel throughout their lives. But she's never told anyone. And you know what? This stuff was actually pretty interesting. Aside from the fact that it seemed kind of, you know, again, a little bit too much. It seems like WWE is trying a little bit too hard to make this more personal than it really needs to be. I mean, they did about 3 or 4 of these when the same thing could have been accomplished with like one of these each week going forward. That would have made it even easier to build up toward WrestleMania and wouldn't have made it seem as rushed. But again, I'll get into more of that in a little bit. Now, one thing that really got under my skin tonight was when WWE announced that they were extending an official invitation to Michael Sam to appear on Monday Night Raw. Yes, the same Michael Sam that failed to make a 53-man roster. The same Michael Sam that's been dominating headlines over the past few months because he's the first openly gay player in NFL history. And to this media that's giving him all this attention and to the WWE that's giving him this invitation, I ask, why? What does he offer? Does he offer the star power that you guys so desperately lack right now? Is a guy who failed to make an NFL team after being drafted in the 7th round, who no one cared about until after he came out, gonna give you guys the edge on Monday Night Football next week? Can I ask the WWE why? Anyway, if Michael Sam is to appear next week on Raw, I'll be going all the way with it. Because if I do this, I go all the way. Jack Swagger wrestled that guy that Ryback used to, have carry his straps everywhere. I guess he fired him. Worthless jobber. Anyway, Jack Swagger squashed him. And then came what I consider to be one of the funniest parts of the night. A lot of people are burying this segment thinking it was, stupid and awful. I thought it was pretty damn funny. Just adds to Bo Dallas's joke character even more. He ends up bringing in like a lot of people whose lives were on the line during the Jack Swagger versus Rusev match. Yes, because that's exactly what you want to bet all your life savings on: Jack Swagger versus Rusev. I'd personally bet all my life savings on Cesaro versus Sheamus. I'd put it on Cesaro since he's playing all these weird mind games with him. Anyway, Zeb Coulter's return was kind of weak. Not kind of weak. It was completely weak. This was a really weak way to bring him back. It was just like, oh, it's Zeb Coulter. Yay. Being as how they seem like they want to build up Jack Swagger a little bit, make him this real American, and try and build up this sympathy angle with Zeb Coulter getting kicked by Rusev. This is kind of treated like it was nothing. Anyway, great work by Bo Dallas here. I was pretty entertained, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to their match. I think this is what should be featured heavily on the show instead of Rusev versus Mark Henry. Okay, so at this point is when I decided to wave the white flag or throw in the towel, since we were just talking about Bo Dallas versus Jack Swagger on this episode of Monday Night Raw. It was Adam Rose versus Titus O'Neil. When Adam Rose versus Titus O'Neil makes the Monday Night Raw show and actually gets more than 2 minutes in its match, that's when I decide, you know what? This episode is crap. And instead of not just the actual fact that they're jobbers, it's the fact that they put Titus O'Neil in the match when Heath Slater was the most over person in the night, more over than Seth Rollins in his own hometown, and he wasn't even in the goddamn match. Yes, Heath Slater is a GOAT. He's up there with greats like Vader and, the Blue Meanie, but still. Anyway, this second hour is just like a complete blur. It was almost like I was drinking during the second hour and passed out and woke up during the third, because I just don't remember anything from the second hour or anything relevant happening. Anyway, also promoted for next week is Bray Wyatt versus Chris Jericho in a steel cage match. Yes, because on the second biggest show of the year, we couldn't have this. We just have to have it on the episode of Monday Night Raw when the Michael Sam is going to show up. And it's going to compete against Monday Night Football. I thought we were done with this feud. This feud has done Bray Wyatt no favors. It hasn't done Chris Jericho any favors. Anyway, on to the Divas segment. So we had Stephanie McMahon come out and basically endorse Nikki Bella. And I actually had this idea earlier on today, and this kind of promoted it furthermore. If they really want to wait out this Brie Bella versus Nikki Bella match, which after this segment I don't think they do, but one can still hope. What they should do is, since SmackDown is moving to Thursdays, they kind of need something to promote it. They got their hottest heel diva right now joining the Authority. Why not make Nikki Bella the general manager of SmackDown to work out the little kinks in her mic work and keep her relevant while still waiting for that match with Brie Bella? There's a number of things that they could do with her. She could put herself in matches. She could put Brie in handicap matches so she would know what the feel is. She could put Paige through hell, AJ through hell. Anyone who's basically in her face through hell. It would make the Divas look like a bigger deal. And plus, like I said, it would keep her relevant until that Brie Bella match. Anyway, as for this segment, personally, I actually liked it. I just thought it was really, really, really awkward. I mean, you had both the two most important diva feuds going on right now intertwine with each other, thinking that they're going to mix. But what ends up happening is they just treat each other like they're Chris Benoit, act like neither of them are there, and advance their own feuds without actually intertwining with each other. I mean, you had Stephanie McMahon say that Nikki Bella is going to get a Divas Championship match in the future, which obviously brought out AJ. And here we are thinking, hey, maybe they might intertwine the Bellas feud with the Divas title feud, so that way we don't get Brie versus Nikki too early. And for Empty Ho, who's going to say that Nikki never lost the belt, I'd like to remind him to go check the footage on Raw when she got pinned by Layla. So either way, she would have lost the Divas Championship back in 2012. And then Brie came out and Paige came out. I even got to give it to Paige. She actually didn't do too bad on the mic. I'm not saying she was good because she wasn't. She just wasn't nearly as bad as I thought she would be. Anyway, the inclusion of Stephanie McMahon here was good because even with Stephanie McMahon there were some boring chants by disrespectful assholes who don't appreciate a decent feud when it's right in front of them. Either that or they were chanting boring at themselves because of their complete death throughout the night. Anyway, since I know there's a lot of AJ haters out there right now that are going to bury her for getting involved in this segment, I'd just like to say this. The fans didn't get into it until AJ got there. I'm not giving her full credit for it. I'm not saying that she's the one that made this segment interesting, because I personally think that she added little to nothing to it. I mean, she did add that nice little AJ spice to it, teasing that Stephanie McMahon feud, which, you know, Stephanie McMahon could be moving on from the Bellas too. But what I thought was really awkward here was that after Stephanie McMahon mentioned that Nikki was supposed to get a title match, all Nikki focused on was Brie still. And then Nikki wanted Brie to quit for no logical reason. I mean, not only did Brie have nothing to do with the Divas title picture, she wasn't standing in her way at all or anything. It was her time, and she still wanted her to quit for no reason. And then the ending was totally prolonged. It definitely should have ended after Brie Bella walked out. I mean, even if it was supposed to tease Stephanie versus AJ, this could have been accomplished in a backstage segment and saved us that miserable Big Show and Mark Henry backstage segment. And then Stephanie McMahon just handed the belt to Paige like nothing, and I don't know. This was very prolonged. It was clearly, you know, the last like 3 minutes or so were clearly like, hey guys, you guys took like too little time. You need to fill it up a little more. But whatever, I guess it is what it is. It is the story of Raw, because even this segment could not save the night. Anyway, what I thought was going to happen at the end was John Cena was going to kill Seth Rollins, the Demon Kane, and Randy Orton to further establish himself as a threat to Brock Lesnar. But no, Roman Reigns is the one that ends up getting the pin. And guys, I'm all for Roman Reigns here, but did that make a whole lot of sense? Does Roman Reigns really need to be made to look stronger than John Cena right now? Yes, I did bury John Cena for killing the Wyatts last week, but there's nothing wrong with having John Cena go over Kane here. I'm not saying him go out there and have him just destroy these three guys altogether, but if you have John Cena destroy the Demon Kane, I mean, I would have personally had Kane dig up the mask, make him look strong again, at least just for the night, and then had Cena destroy him. Because basically, Kane's credibility is done. Anything that I would have built up tonight would have been just to build up John Cena, because you have to make him look a little bit strong. But even after the match, John Cena made it seem like he was the one that, you know, killed everybody, when, again, Roman Reigns is the one that ended up getting the pin. So I personally think if Triple H really is a man of his word, and sticks to what is best for business, it will be Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at Night of Champions, because Roman Reigns was the most impressive wrestler in this match. Anyway, this has been the other guy. And before I leave, I just want to update you guys. All you guys that have won the pay-per-view predictions games and send in your requests for a video, we have not forgotten about you. We just wanted to save it for kind of a special, momentous occasion, and we figure season premiere of Total Divas, why the hell not? It's only fitting. So this week will consist of all of the videos that you winners of the pay-per-view prediction game have requested. And I guess you could call it a sort of marathon, since we don't really upload videos 2 days in a row. We're not like Sean's View Entertainment. So we hope you guys stay tuned for that and enjoy. Anyway, this has been a miserable Monday Night Raw. We hope this review was a little bit better. In fact, this episode was so cringeworthy. It kind of gave me flashbacks to when John Cena wrote JBL is poopy on JBL's limo. Thought I should remind you all of that. Anyway, yada yada yada. Blah blah blah.